Welcome to your weekly program بالأحضان, a show with an accent for those without one. We all heard about the trouble, killing, shooting in Chapel Hill, and the reaction of the media, and how the media really was very slow to react to this horrible event, and kind of adapting the narrative of the police, which was a dispute over a parking space. Shooting 3 people in the head inside their own apartment. This guy must hate something. And we don't know yet. We'll find out. The aftermath, the ramification, the reaction, Islamophobia, and attacks on Muslims and Muslims' mosque and culture. A guest that he is monitoring the aftermath of the troubleshooting in Chapel Hill. We have here Jaylani Hussein. He is the executive director of CAIR, and you know CAIR is a civil rights organization, advocate organization, a national one, and he is the head of the local chapter. Welcome to Balahdan, Jaylani. This is, I mean, it's been going on for a while, simmering post 9/11 and all that, but the Chapel Hill shooting really exacerbate that Islamophobia again, and especially when the media were very slow to look into this and treat it like a local incident.
Imagine if the gentleman who killed those 3 young lives was actually Muslim, and then those kids were non-Muslim.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be the story then? So I think you bring on the issue here. The media reacted very slowly. But also, I think we, as a community, we don't even know what to make of this. This is an attack on 3 lives, 3 young lives, who really embodied every single thing about what an American Muslim is. I mean, they were...
Actually, what an American is. It seems like if this guy did not hate Muslim, I think he hates America, because these guys are very American.
And I think you know, just to give you an example, I mean, Dia, the young man, a dentist student who was helping his local community, helping the homeless with dental care, and also helping back home in Syria, traveling to the camp in Turkey. And so, I mean, these young, I think all Americans should be proud of them being that active, and their lives to be taken in that way, in that, you know, heinous, almost assassination. I mean, headshots. This is really unspeakable, and it raises the fear that many of the Muslim and other communities have been talking about in the last 5 to 10 years about this growing wave of Islamophobia in America. What does everybody need to do to stop this hate that divides us and creates these anxieties and creates these attacks on Muslims? And by the way, this is not the only attack. I mean, 3 months ago we had a gentleman who converted to Christianity, apparently, and we don't believe that's any act of a religious, what he did, but he killed a Muslim teenager outside of a mosque in Kansas City. Before that, we had a Iraqi new immigrant in San Francisco, Sacramento, who was killed outside of Home Depot. It was actually pretty much hunted down. So we have a growing, these are individuals being killed, but you also touched upon the mosque that was burned in Houston, Texas. So there is a growing backslash.
So what would that tell us about us as Americans? I mean, it seems like those misbehaving Muslims, you know, terrorists, ISIS, I mean, they have grievance, which is invasion, raped country, they're not elected. They do represent Muslims. They killed more Muslims than non-Muslims. Most of the people who fight ISIS are Muslims. But the people who do the misbehaving and the violence here, this average Americans, well, they have choices, and they have representative government, and they have army and military that invading and drones and killing millions and thousands and 100,000s of Muslims. So what is it a grievance, or is this just racism?
I think it's a multiple of things. I think one, we have to start about this concept of where America has amnesia when it comes to Islam. we don't know when Muslims arrived. Muslims have been here since this country has been formed. A third of all African Americans were Muslims who came to this country through the slave trade. You know, this concept that American Muslim story started somewhere in the, 9/11. It's really unfair.
Untrue too.
And untrue. And I think we need to really recognize that. And the solutions to these problems is not to allow hate, fear-mongering individuals to walk amongst our community and spew this hate that divides and creates, anxiety, where people, I've seen a bumper sticker that said, for example, Obama, take the Muslims with you. I mean, we have a country where we are dividing that wedge, and a lot of it is coming from these. I would have to say the 24-hour cycle news hasn't helped us because they don't talk, they sensationalize, they have bite lines, they don't really give a good substance of what is actually taking place. So it's a combination of things, and I think these tragedies, and I mentioned this to actually a group of students that I talked to outside the University of Minnesota after this incident, and I said this tragedy should bring us together. It should make everyone responsible to protect each other. When you hear of somebody who's misinforming people about Islam, it shouldn't be just the Muslims that speak out. It should be everyone saying, no, these are not Muslims. This is not a right characteristic of Muslims. And so we need to stop this type of hate, fear-mongering, and it's a huge growing industry. It's $150 million industry. Yeah. A campaign against
and a lot of people contributing to this. Yeah. I mean, a lot of right-wing extremists are financing this Islamophobic campaign by the media. We know the media has a structural problem, and that could be also against black or against Latinos or against even black German and Jew, whatever. But it seems like it's picking up and focus exclusively on the Muslims. So tell us a little bit about the role of CAIR, and I know there was things going on here in the Twin Cities and the outreach program that now turning to be a law enforcement agent and all. So you've been there.
Yeah, so there's a new program in Minnesota that is being actually being worked on, being implemented. This program was actually announced. I mean, just to tell you how horrible. The date of announcement, it was announced on September 11th of 2014 that 3 cities were going to be chosen to counter violent extremism.
3 cities?
3 cities, Minnesota, Los Angeles, and Boston.
Why those 3 cities?
Muslims live here. So,
simple as that.
First of all, right away, stigma puts on Muslims. This is the consequences when the government says, by the way, we're going to target Muslims for this violent extremism, where according to the FBI and all the statistics, right-wing extremism is the greatest threat to the United States. With that, Minnesota has had history of young men leaving to Al-Shabaab and others, and the community has done really a lot of work to fight that back. But this new program actually is not new. This type of model where a federal prosecutor provides funding to local organizations to support social service programs is not new. It was actually attempted and done in the UK. It was a program there, Prevent. And it failed for a couple of reasons. One, there is already a great deal of distrust between the law enforcement and the community. Two, once a community member sees you're getting money from the FBI, you lose credibility in the community. People think that your work is...
And we have cases here where
we have cases.
A member of the Somali community...
We actually have a specific 2 programs that were actually outreach that actually blur the line. One was an internal program called SCOT, where they blur the lines between how the FBI works with outreach. The
social service and law enforcement.
No, actually, this one was internally how they work together.
I see.
The other one in St. Paul was called AIM-COP. This program actually came after a much more successful program, which didn't involve the FBI and U.S. Attorney. But since those 2 joined, this program actually took place in Minneapolis, in St. Paul. And the Muslim organizations that participated have said publicly, we were asked to provide lists of anybody who attended our program. and we didn't offer those lists because we didn't collect those lists. Additionally, we found out from the program directives that there's supposed to be like a health athletic league, and any kid who didn't sign up for the athletic league for some reason would be automatically put onto a watch list. You know, and there was surveillance already as part of the package. Now, all of these two programs, both law enforcement agencies says, by the way, we didn't do it. The Scott program, the FBI locally said, by the way, we didn't do it, which is fine. I mean, this is good. We just need proof. Who did it? We just need proof that they didn't do it.
Yeah. Who did it?
We have proof that they did it. Yeah. We need the proof to say they didn't do it. In the AIM Cop program, they say we didn't get to that point, which means there was a plan to get to the to some sort of surveillance. When you have already a shadow of this luring on the community, and you bring on a new program that, number one, has no safeguards, and number two, is eventually going to divide the community, because any organization that gets that money, the community will say, hey, you know, you could be an agent of the government. We don't want that. And the programs themselves, they're actually youth programs, you know, helping, you know, job. These are things, social service programs that we need in the community. They're obvious needs, but they need to come from the organizations that is their responsibility.
So this has been going on for quite some time. 9/11 has been more than 10 years now. So, and there is a lot of organizations. There is a lot of also internal social programs in the mosque, somewhere else, from the Somali community, the Muslim community, and your own organization, to face up to extremism and all that. So what's wrong with, what's the basic premises that the law enforcement have in their mind that they cannot take advantage of that and they always miss the mark?
So this program looks at providing more access to doing social services. Programs before didn't really deal with this. The challenge where we're saying is, and this actually does exist, most of the organizations in the Twin Cities, and this is not just the Somali community, I mean the large East African community, the Karen community, the Hmong, there is a resource gap. There's a lot of money available in the community to support these organizations, but there is a gap. We can fix that gap. The programs that are being offered by the U.S. Attorney's Office today, they don't guarantee us that they will actually reduce radicalization. These are programs that are already needed in the community. He wants to wrap it on and say, listen, these are some things we want to do. What we're saying is don't blur the lines, don't create divisions in the community. Just let the organizations who are supposed to do this, encourage them, let them do it. And actually some of them refuse. You know, there is a problem in Minnesota where communities like Somali community and a lot of East Africans are not getting the support that they need to do more robust social service programs in their communities. That's a problem. We need to solve that. Should the federal prosecutor who is also surveillancing? No. And there's actually an interesting point about this. There's a partnership between Minneapolis Public School and this program. And they're supposed to hire people who would watch our kids at lunchroom and after school program to see what kind of signs that...
So if he eating hummus or falafel, is that sign of terrorist?
I don't know. It could be, actually, they said something about, you know, like behavioral changes. And one of the things, I mean, I know if you go to middle school, you're going to see all of teenagers go through a whole chain of change. Yeah, so I think this is not the line.
So they are spying on the kids or spying on the family?
Minneapolis public schools already have a horrible track record for educating our kids. They can't even suspend our kids. So our community and our young people are also aware of this. So they don't seek that conversation online, and they find predators there. And that's where we're seeing the recruitment to at least to ISIS and others.
Mr. Jaylani, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanik, the Executive Director of CAIR, and he was talking about the outreach program and also talk about the what is it, CVE, which is counter violence extremists. I have no idea what that means, but we're going to deal with some crazy things for a long, long time. And we thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.